Welcome to the Lakes Church. I'm coming in to find a spot to worship with us and stand as we sing this morning.
Good morning. Cade hides back here where nobody can find me. How you doing this morning?
Good. I'm live streaming again on that Facebook group. You might get a notice to approve it.
I'm sorry?
You might get a notice to approve it. I'm live streaming on that Facebook group.
Oh, yeah.
So people who aren't here can watch it.
Yeah, that's, I approve once in a while. Sometimes Amy beats me to it, because I don't look at Facebook very often.
It's pretty good.
Beautiful we just come before you humble and thank you for your love. So Father, I just pray that as you speak to us this morning, you speak to our hearts and allow us to move and change and grow. I pray that you would break down walls and humble all hearts so we can listen to your message from a perspective of more in you. Lord, move in this place today. Lord, I pray for Dr. Bear that you speak through him today to us. Lord, be in this place. Be honored. So we pray.
Testing 1, 2. Very good. No meat, no cheese. Large front. Okay, good. All right. My brother in the back said they're working on a new mic for me to break. So as they, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's take care of it. But it's great to see all of you here. I know this is the 4th of July weekend, so some families may be out visiting other families or out, at the lake catching some rays or like a mini staycation or something like that. People traveling, but we're glad you're here. Glad you're here to worship, and we are honored to be with you. And last week we started looking at one particular book in the New Testament. Anybody remember? Oh man,
Hezekiah.
Failed the quiz.
Philippians.
Philippians, there we go. All right, so we didn't finish it. We did the whole book in one Sunday. So tap your app or grab your Bible, whichever. Do what? We left Paul in jail. That's right. Philippians 1. And we went through all the way to verse 20. All right, we covered a little bit of ground. Well, we're not going to cover as many verses this time. Here, from today, we're just going to go from verse 21 to the end of the chapter, which is verse 30. All right, so chapter 1, verses 21, all the way to verse 30. So shortening down our section a bit. Now, last week, as Joel did just point out, we found out that Paul's writing this letter while he's in jail. All right, we don't know if he's in a Roman prison or in Caesarea or where, we're not sure, but he is writing from prison to a church that he started, right, in an area called Macedonia, right, this town of Philippi, named after a king named Philip. Go figure. And Paul, we found out last week that Paul is basically taking advantage of the opportunity to be in prison. You mean, if you don't remember, how do you take advantage of being in prison? Well, he's able to share the gospel with people that he wouldn't be able to share the gospel with otherwise. Roman soldiers, servants of Caesar, all kinds of people are hearing the gospel because of this nutcase that's in jail named Paul, right? And Paul's encouraging these Philippian believers to have the same attitude that he has. But, I mean, when you read Paul, sometimes he almost seems like a spiritual Superman. I mean, does he really exist? How do you have some sort of fuel in your spiritual tank that allows you to have the right kind of attitude when everything around you says have a bad one? When everything around, we have all our little slogans. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. There's only one problem. It's got to have a lot of sugar for it to be lemonade that I'm going to drink. So, I mean, I can't make really, really sweet lemonade sometimes with the lemons that I get in life. Because, again, I told you last week, one of my spiritual gifts is cynicism, right? So I have to push away at that and let the Lord work on my heart. What kind of fuel can really help us have the right kind of perspective to see life whenever it brings things our way that are just downright hard? I'm not talking about hard in the sense of don't want to get up in the morning and go to work. We're talking about just when life really punches you in the gut. It really does some horrendous things. How do you have this kind of attitude? And verses 21 down to verse 30, Paul is still talking about how he wants the Philippians to behave themselves, and he kind of lets them kind of see what's going on the inside of his heart. And in doing so, he says some things that kind of give us an idea of what's driving him, right? what keeps him going. And verse 21 is one of the most well-known verses in the letter, right? I mean, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's probably the top one, right? And then there are a few others that are really popular. But Ephesians 1:21, for me to live is Christ and die is gain. That's kind of like, the mantra verse that Philippians a lot of times is known for. What does that mean? Right? What is that? For Paul, you have to realize when Paul says that, he's actually answering a question that humanity would ask for millennia after Paul's long gone. It's a huge question. I mean, you can, whether you want to talk about philosophy, going all the way back to Socrates or Plato or Aristotle, or all the way up through into the present, or even songs, whether it's country music, hip hop, soft rock, or 80s hair bands. I mean, whatever kind of music you want to talk about, poetry, theater, movies. We always have certain questions that we're asking over and over and over again. The example that I like, and I don't want to be too dark here, but the example I like is Hamlet. Okay, now I'm not, let me say this as a disclaimer, I am not a Shakespeare fan. Just not my thing. Okay. Now my daughter, she went through a Shakespeare phase. She wanted to read everything about Shakespeare, study Shakespeare. She had to do a presentation in school on Shakespeare. So I just thought in my head and smiled. Yes, dear. Listen to all the facts that she was learning about Shakespeare. But in the play Hamlet, the main character, Hamlet, he is in a real pickle because his dad has been murdered, okay, by his uncle, all right? And now that Hamlet's mother is in mourning, Hamlet's uncle marries Hamlet's mother. And you can't get a bigger soap opera than that. And in the play, Hamlet's father, after he's dead, his ghost comes and tells Hamlet what the plot was. Hey, your uncle did this, and this is what he's trying to do. You need to avenge me. And so there's a scene where you get one of the most famous lines in Hamlet, right? That's going to be a question, and actually Paul's going to answer. And the question is, but Hamlet's basically, he's trying to wrestle with what to do. Because if he does nothing, if he just lets it go, then he's going to be vexed his entire life because he's going to have to relate to his mother and his father's murderer as a couple. As his uncle is now the stepdad who killed his dad, and just gross. He's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life, and that's a horrible option. And then Hamlet says, or I could kill my uncle and avenge my father, but if I murder, then I'll be condemned to hell if I do that in the play. So that's not. So if I live, I'm vexed and I'm condemned myself. If I murder my father's murderer, then I'm taking vengeance and not justice, and I'm damning my soul to hell. Well, what's a third option? Well, I can just kill myself and put myself out of misery. The only problem is if I commit suicide, that will damn my soul to hell. So basically, whatever Hamlet does, I'm not trying to be too dark here. Whatever Hamlet does, he is doomed. And so out of the sorrow that's bursting out of his heart, he has the great question to Hamlet: to be or not to be? That is the question. To be means either be a murderer or be miserable. And not to be, well, if I take my own life, then God's going to judge me for that too. And again, that is a question that gets asked over and over and over and over again in history. What does it mean to be? And a lot of times we ask the question the most when life makes the least sense. When horrendous things go wrong. It's one thing to hear about horrendous things that go wrong in the lives of other people in other countries. We can kind of distance ourselves. But when things are happening to us, or things are happening to people that we love and are close to, we have this, what does it mean? What does it mean to be? What does it mean to exist? Are we just, like in the book of Ecclesiastes, are we just like animals? We're born, we walk around and sniff the grass and eat for a while, then we die, we're roadkill. Is that all there is to it? We're just highly advanced roadkill? Is that all we are? It's a question. And here's the thing. Everybody asks the question. Everybody tries to come up with an answer. Everybody does. Everybody lives their life trying to provide something that will give an answer to why they are. Right? And Paul says in verse 21, in the rest of this part of the letter, I'm going to give you my answer to that question. And again, if anybody had a right to be having a pity party right now, it would be Paul. He's been a faithful preacher of the gospel, and what's his reward? He's in jail. I mean, if there were any time to sing, and I'm going to date myself here, if there were any time to sing the hee-haw, gloom and doom song, this would be the moment. There was a show called Hee-Haw. It was country humor. It was as corny could be, and it was so corny, people watched it. And there was a scene where they would have these guys dressed up like hobos laying on the ground. They had old basset hounds sitting up on the porch up above their heads, and they would have, their song was gloom, despair, agony on me. And then when he would say that, somebody would, oh, moan, and fear, dark depression, excessive misery. If I had no bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Gloom, despair, agony, and then they would talk about whatever horrible things were going on, and they would sing that chorus, right? If anybody had a right to be on that show or a scene with that, it would be Paul. I've been preaching, I've been starting churches, I gave up my whole career in Judaism. I've gone around doing things behind the scenes. There was even one church I started, I didn't even take a salary from them. I made tents so I wouldn't have to be a financial burden to them. I've done all these things, and what is my reward? I'm in jail with no bail. That's my, that would be my temptation to have that attitude. Paul doesn't do that. Why doesn't Paul have a pity party? Or more severely, let go into the depths of depression? Because he knows why he's alive, and he also knows what life means after it's over. He knows both questions. If you can't answer one of the questions, you can't answer. They go together. If you answer one, you have to answer the other. If you can't answer both of them, you can't answer either. Okay? That's one of the reasons that historically we have so many struggles, because making sense of life entails making sense of death. Making sense of death entails making sense of life. And Paul says in verse 21, notice it's not simply that Paul doesn't know whether he's going to get out of jail or not. He doesn't know whether or not he's going to get a haircut down to the shoulder. He doesn't know whether or not he's going to live. He's hoping that he's going to get out. I mean, he writes other letters, he doesn't think he's going to get out. But in this one, he's not sure. But he says in verse 21, look, for me to live, if I get out of prison, whether I'm stuck in prison for a while, or whether I'm able to go to trial and get out, they release me, whatever, for me to live is to live is Christ. Notice there, he doesn't say for me to live, or for me to live is to live for Christ. Or for me to live is the meaning of life is Christ. No, he just sums it all up. Whatever I am alive, as long as my heart is beating and brain waves are functioning, everything revolves around Christ. Period. Not me being happy. Not me being fulfilled. Not me being accomplished. Me lives Christ. Whatever he commissions me to do, that's what I do. Now, if the feelings and the emotions come with it, that's great. But a lot of times they don't. It's very important to keep that in mind. Sometimes I'll hear people say, we're going to go to this book of the Bible and get 5 lessons on finances, or 5 lessons on a good marriage, or 5 lessons on leadership, or 5 lessons. You got to recognize the Bible doesn't give you any magical solutions to life. You can be the most faithful steward with your money and still be broke. And there are people who are not faithful stewards at all that are filthy rich. There's no chemistry that's going to dictate the solution you want to life all the time. There's only a solution that will give you stability no matter what life brings you all the time. Now that's different. That's different. Okay? For me to live is Christ, and to die, what? Is even better. To die is gain. Yeah, to die is gain. How is that possible? Verse 22. If I live on in the flesh, okay, if I get out of prison, everything goes well and I'm able to get out. If I live on in the flesh, this means fruitful work for me. Every one of us here, it's very important, every one of us have a task the Lord is commissioning us to do. It may not be up here on a stage preaching or being a pastor or a missionary in another country. You could be a plumber, you could be an architect, a teacher, a police officer, or whatever. Whatever it is, it has been given to you to do it as a particular faithful servant or steward. Paul says, look, if I live, it's fruitful work for me. In other words, as long as I'm alive, there's something for me to accomplish, for me to do. And notice, I'm so excited about what the Lord wants me to do, I'm not actually sure which is better. Now, you don't hear a lot of struggle on that. Man, which is better, living or dying? Historically, history of Western thought, there's not a whole lot of struggle. Living is better than dying. But Paul, if you're going to say that living is Christ and dying is gain, then Paul says there's actually a struggle. But the struggle is not to figure out the meaning of life. The struggle is to want to go to what life does after you die. He says, like, I'm torn between the two. Between living for Christ and dying is gain. So Hamlet, to be or not to be, that is the question. It's so vexing. And Paul says, no, what's vexing is either option is awesome. Paul would say to Hamlet, cheer up. To be or not to be, they're both wins. For Hamlet, you lose. Well, no. Without Christ, you lose. But if you put Christ in the equation, either one are great. Either one are awesome. I'm torn between the two. Why? Because I long to depart and be with Christ. That's far better. Paul's but look, I love you, Philippians. You're awesome, but you are not Jesus. I love each of you. And some of you love me. So, I'm not going to ask for a vote, right? But I don't think any of you love me more than Jesus. You better not. And I don't love you more than Jesus. And Paul, if I think that to die and to go be with the Lord, yeah, that's a pretty awesome option. But that's not up for me to decide. That's Paul's point. It's not for me. It's not up to me to decide to go to part which is far better. But verse 24, if I do live, but to remain in the flesh is more necessary for your sake. Notice, Paul's point isn't, if I get to live, it's awesome because I want to live more. No, it's because he knows there's more people to invest in. More people that need discipleship. More people who he needs to pour himself into. I mean, that's one of my prayers. Lord, whenever I'm incapable of pouring into others, then take me away. If I can't pour into someone else, then take my cup to be with you. If I can't be pouring, that's Paul says, I want to be pouring. It's ironic when you go to 2 Timothy, his last letter, he tells Timothy, I've got one more pouring to do. One more, which is to die. I'm going to pour out myself one more time. I'm going to be with the Lord. But here, he says, if I'm going to live, it's more necessary for your sake. In other words, I know there's more work to be done with you. And so if I'm going to live, it's going to be an investment in you. Since I'm persuaded of this, I know that I will remain and continue with all of you in your progress and joint faith, so that because of my coming to you again, your boasting in Christ Jesus may abound. You're praying for me to be free. I know if I'm free, they'll give you another reason to praise the Lord. And if I'm able to come visit you, that will make it even grander. And so, yes, I hope that I live so I can become an encouragement to you. It's, for me, when I read Paul's attitude here, I'll confess to you, one of the most difficult things for me when I was a pastor was trying to convince God's people why they need to be involved in God's work. It wasn't out of, I didn't ever want people to have guilt trips. You need to do because of all the stuff that God has done. Because sometimes that gets twisted into guilt trips. What hurt me was recognizing a lot of times the reason God's people didn't want to be a part of God's work is because they loved other things more. They loved other things more. And then sometimes I would use that as a mirror. I might look at myself in the mirror and ask myself that question too. What is it that I love more than pouring my life into others? It's a difficult thing because you pour out, you can pour so much up, there's nothing left, right? But here's the thing. If you're pouring out on God's behalf, I can't explain it to you. It's like he performs that miracle of the 5,000. He's got 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? How are you going to feed thousands of people with that? Well, you give it to Jesus. He's the ultimate golden corral. He just keeps breaking more off, breaking more off. And next thing you know, thousands of people have food. If you're pouring yourself on the Lord's behalf into others, as much as you pour, the Lord will give you more. It doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean you don't have to sometimes come away and rest. Don't misunderstand. But you can. We talk about a lot of times. You hear the phrase, "You can't outgive God." A lot of times you hear that in the context of giving money, and that's true. But it's not just restricted to that. When you give yourself to the Lord, your life, your time, your talents, the more you give, the more He does. The more He blesses. And Paul says, I know that. So one of the reasons I want to live is so that I can continue to see the Lord work in your life and allow me to be a part of it. But, verse 27, Paul does know that he's not quite sure that it's going to work out. He's not 100% sure. He doesn't know either way whether he's going to get out of jail or not. He doesn't have a spy in the Roman courts that can give him updates on his case. Right? So in case he tells them, if I do get out, this is what I want to do. But I'm not sure. So in the meantime, Philippians, this is what you need to do. Verse 27, one other thing, just one thing. As citizens of heaven, there's that language there. We're celebrating the 4th of July weekend, citizens of the United States of America, or citizens of a country, right? Here, Paul makes the point that we're citizens of another country, too. Right? And citizens of heaven, if you're citizens of a country, United States, wherever, whenever you say you're a citizen of, what follows that of means that you live by whatever laws or guidelines or constitutions or declarations that that country enforces. Right? You say you're a citizen of, that means that you are in a context of a particular way that people and a government does things. Right? So citizens of the United States of America. Here, citizens of heaven. Or if you want to say God's neighborhood. So in heaven, heaven does things a lot different from folks down here. And it doesn't matter what country, United States, UK, Germany, you fill in the blank. Whatever earthly rule or realm or kingdom or country or democracy or whatever, it doesn't matter what's dictatorship or regime, no matter how structured or freelance a country is, every worldly power does things different from the way heaven does it. Everyone does. And Paul says we're citizens of heaven. So, if we are, as citizens of heaven, live your life worthy of the gospel of Christ. Now, worthy, we kind of get a phobia from that word there. The idea is not earn it or do it in a way where the checks and balances weigh out and you win it. The idea is, okay, this is what's been given to you. Now act in a way that reflects it. Worthy of the gospel. In other words, if you're going to be citizens of heaven, the attitude for me to live as Christ, to die as gain, that's got to be your constitution. That's got to be your Bill of Rights. That's got to be all of it, summed up. But here's the thing. If you make that the central force that drives your life, here's the thing. Don't expect people from other citizen countries to appreciate it, or to understand it, or to accept it. Now, sometimes people will commit treason and change their citizenship, and they'll become a part of the citizens of heaven. Sometimes that will happen, and it's awesome when it does. But it doesn't happen always. And so Paul says, like any good parent, citizens of heaven, live your life worthy of the gospel of Christ, then whether I come and see you or am absent. Paul even says, I may be out of prison, but I may not have the resources to come to Philippi to visit you. I may have to send one of my cohorts. I may have to send Timothy or some of my other co-workers to see how you're doing. But whatever happens, live worthy of the gospel, so that if I do get out but can't come, I will hear about you, that you are standing firm in one spirit, in one accord, contending together for the faith in the gospel. Notice here, his point isn't for me to live as Christ as individual Christians. Or maybe I should rephrase that. Merely individual Christians. It's, to use the Texas phrase, a y'all understanding. He doesn't want to hear that brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so at Philippi is doing really well in Christ. No. He wants to hear that all of them are contending for their faith together. When Paul says, for me to live as Christ, to die as gain, I don't think he would have any problem if I were to say, for us to live as Christ, to die as gain. I don't think he'd have a problem. And notice here, I'm praying this, hoping for this. But verse 20, I know it's not going to be easy, so and also that you continue together, not being frightened in any way by your opponents. The Philippians do have some people who are trying to put pressure on them. We'll find out more about them as we go through the letter. But recognize, again, your love for Christ is always going to elicit friction. It always will. We always talk about how Baptists don't like change. Well, nobody likes change. The only change we probably get excited about is if you won the lottery. Right? That kind of change, probably not even people are going to get upset, right? You're a millionaire overnight. No, I'm not saying go play the lottery. It's just an illustration. You've heard the jokes. How many Methodists does it take to change a light bulb? How many Presbyterians change? You have all these punchlines. Well, you know how many Baptists it takes to change a light bulb, right? Don't know. Change a light bulb. We don't change a light bulb around here. It didn't take any Baptists. My grandfather put that light bulb in. That's the Baptist. You never know the answer because we don't change light bulbs, right? But Paul says here's one thing recognized. Being citizens of heaven means that you're not going to fit in. There's no more miserable life than trying to say you're a Christian and fit in. That's miserable. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Here's a newsflash. Even being around some Christians, you won't fit in. It's true. I remember when I went to Bible college, people would tell me, when you go to Bible college, everybody going to Bible college doesn't love Jesus. And I would hear that, but I wouldn't really listen to it. And man, I got to Bible college, most of them didn't love Jesus. I'm not exaggerating. I remember the Bible college I went to, there was a male, not female, a male strip joint down the block. It was called La Bear. What's the name of it? No, I didn't work there. No, don't go there. There was a student, a gal there in Bible college. I can't remember what she was doing, a Bible degree. She was dating a dancer. No, excuse me. Make sure I get my plural. Dancers. And I remember thinking, man, people weren't joking when they told me. I don't think she was evangelizing or anything like that. I was, what in the world's going on? Not everybody saying they love Jesus loves Jesus. And here, Paul says, look, you're going to have opponents. But notice, if you have opponents, this is a sign of destruction for them, but of your salvation. This is from God. In other words, if you are living for Christ and contending for the gospel and you're going to have resistance, recognize that's just natural. No country likes another country telling them what to do. No country likes another country telling them what to do. And being citizens of heaven, we are proclaiming what our country stands for, and the powers of this world don't like it. And they will resist. But here's the thing. The resistance, that contrast, that clash of kingdoms is actually the way it's supposed to be. Why? Because it means judgment is coming for those who don't repent, and vindication is coming for those who stand for the gospel. For, verse 29, Paul makes this point, and this is what doesn't make sense to us in our culture. Verse 29 is like white noise. We don't get this. You're not going to hear this on most TV preacher channels. Okay? You're not going to claim this promise. If you live for Jesus and you want to see Him bless your life, if you live faithfully, you can claim this promise. Claim it. You're not going to hear that from this promise. You're not going to hear it. Dial that 800 number down at the bottom of your screen. You can pray, get your blessing, and claim this promise. Philippians 1:20. You're not going to hear this. All right, verse 29, Paul says, it has been, notice here, it has been granted to you, not forced upon you or obligated you. It has been granted. It is a badge of honor, a privilege. What, to be a millionaire for Jesus? No. Never get sick? No. It has been granted for you on Christ's behalf. Oh, you know Jesus? Well, let's give you the red carpet treatment. Oh man, what's it going to be? Red carpet treatment for those who you want to be like Christ? You want to be Christ-like? You want to be more like your Savior? Well, here we go. It's been granted to you on Christ's behalf, not only to believe in Him, but also to suffer for Him on His behalf. Very important. Since you are engaged in the same struggle that you saw I had and now hear that I have. Paul, why is he in prison? He's in prison for doing the same stuff Jesus did. And if these Philippians follow in Paul's footsteps and do it, they may not go to prison, but they're going to have hardship. See, that's the promise nobody wants to claim. Nobody wants to claim, live for Jesus, you'll be persecuted. You'll be hated. You'll be mocked. You'll be marginalized. You'll be ostracized. No one wants to hear that. And no one wants to experience it. But here's the thing. When we could go to the book of Hebrews and see this. When the world kicks you out, that is the best place to be. Why? Why? Because they kicked Jesus out. And if you get kicked out, He's there waiting on you. He's there waiting on you. That's what Paul means when he says to live is Christ. And to die is gain. If they throw acceptance and people believe the gospel and become part of the kingdom, then I'm going to pour my life into them. And if people resist me and people oppose me and people persecute me, then that just means I'm doing things right. Because that's what happened to Jesus. That kind of Christian can't be stopped. Can't stop that kind of Christian. They can't be defeated. The problem that gets in the way, and it's true for me, and I'm sure it's true for you, is we can read this stuff on a page and we can talk about what Paul is saying, what he wants Philippians to do, but it doesn't change the way we feel. A lot of times, feelings are the great enemy. Because I don't know about you, sometimes my feelings can be all over the place. I can feel like the Lord loves me sometimes, and I can feel that He may be disappointed, or I can feel. Feelings are real things. The problem, though, is they can take over. They kind of fester, and they grow and become bigger than what they really are. And so I want to encourage you in developing and growing in your walk with the Lord, never allow your experience or your feelings to be what drives your commitment to Christ. Don't do that. Your feelings are going to come and go. Right? Bad feelings may stay around for a long time. Sometimes they do. But here's the thing, if you look for Christ, you're always going to have conflict. And conflict, for me, like for instance, with me, conflict, I hate conflict. I don't like it in any venue. I don't like it as being a parent. I don't like conflict with Tabitha when we have little, spats. I don't like conflict there. I don't like conflict in school, teaching. I don't like conflict on the job. I don't like conflict in church. I don't like it. Because I don't like to think that I'm doing things that may be causing other people pain or discomfort. And that's the way I look at it. I don't like it. But I can't let feelings keep me from doing what's right, even if it brings conflict. Don't let your feelings be what drives your walk with the Lord. Because if you do, then you're always going to have a barometer. It's never going to be consistent. Let your walk with the Lord be based upon promises. Trust in promises. When you feel like trusting, oh, that's awesome, it's easy. But when you don't feel like trusting, trust. Continue to do. The hardest thing to do when you're going through difficulties in your walk with the Lord is the mundane. Whenever you're going through really big things in life that are really hard, it's so challenging just to get out of bed and brush your teeth. Well, brush your teeth. And eat and go to work and sleep. Just the mundane things can be the most difficult things to do. Just to try to go through the everyday responsibilities of life when life is just a cesspool. And you've been there. Just something that's so bad in your life that you live in it, you breathe in it, you're eating in it, you can't escape it. It's just always there. And if your walk with the Lord is being dictated by your feelings, those kinds of situations will overtake you. And then once you start letting those feelings take over, then what happens is you begin to put them and they begin to be used against God. Well, God, if you love me, why is this going on? Shouldn't you do it this way? Shouldn't you have done this instead of that? And once that begins to happen, and the doubts begin to take place, then we become suckers for Satan to deceive us. That's what happened to Eve. Once she began to consider his lies, then she just fell into disobedience. And the same thing with us. Don't let feelings guide your spiritual life. Don't do that. To live as Christ, to die as gain. Let the promise that Christ is giving you in salvation and to use you now and to take you to be with him so you can go to the country where you are actually a citizen and have never been there. Either way, it's a win-win. Let that promise be the foundation that you rest your life upon so that whenever storms come, you may have a few broken windows, you may have some siding damage in your house, but your house will stand. And you continue to pour yourself into other people and be a testimony until the Lord calls you home. Don't live your life without leaving any footprints. It's hard whenever I had to do funerals for people who left no footprints. And those who did were people who could care less about the Lord, and they were usually just consumed with themselves. And they leave no footprints. Don't do that. Let the Lord fill you and pour yourself into others. Again, whatever that looks like. Whatever vocation, whatever opportunities the Lord gives you, whether you're in high school, middle school, retired, whatever. If your heart's beating and you have oxygen in your lungs, then the Lord wants you to pour yourself into other people. Not just be a sponge. Don't do that. And whenever that happens, there's no real word to explain it. It just brings a fulfillment that so many people are searching for and other stuff. And here's the thing. If you don't want Christ to fill it with this, I'm done. If you don't want Christ to be the one who fills it, here's the thing. You're going to constantly be looking for other stuff to do it. No one ever looks to money or popularity or sex or whatever one time to fill that gap. No, it's a constant thing. You got to have over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And then it gets old, you get immune to it. You got to have more, something worse, something worse. There's always got to be something that you're using to fill in that gap. And if you allow Christ to fill it, once you have filet mignon, bologna just doesn't really sound appealing anymore. But so many people think bologna will satisfy their souls. And it won't. Only Christ will. And please, for me, my great struggle now is to know that there might be some of you who leave this building settling for bologna in your life. Don't do that. Allow Christ to take your life and do things with it that you could not dream. Do things, change you in ways, make you into a person that you could not, to be a citizen of heaven, to allow heaven's reign to be something on this earth for people to see. That is a truly supernatural thing. And it can be done, but it can't be done unless we have the attitude that Paul did. If we're going to live, it's Christ. And if the Lord takes our life, then it's gain. Because then we get to go to the country. And we're we become citizens of it. Be that kind of believer so that the world can see what it looks like for heaven to change life. Father, we thank you so much for your word. Lord, it has so much in it. So rich and so much truth. And Father, I pray for each heart this morning. Lord, I know there are many people here, Lord, they know you as Savior, and they love you, and they're so thankful, and they want to continue to be used by you. And I pray if there's some here who do know you, who are struggling with some hardships, maybe some really heavy burdens, and they are really teetering, Lord, with their faith and their trust. Pray that you would help them, Lord, by your Spirit to be able to rebalance whatever might be in their minds. Or be able to recalibrate their hearts and refocus upon you and trust you, knowing that your goodness can be trusted, and that you will work everything to their good, no matter what the circumstance may be. Lord, there may also be some here, Lord, who don't know you as Savior. There may only be one, there may be 10, there may be more. I don't know. But Lord, they may be trying to let other things fill their hearts and their lives, Lord, their faith. Nothing can satisfy. I pray that you help them see that it's only Christ that can. I pray that you would convict them, show them the need. Lord, that you would work in their hearts so that they may believe. Trust you. Lord, we commend ourselves to you and ask these things now in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. That was an excellent message and lesson. I'm going to miss you when we get a pastor and come in. I don't know if he's going to have a tall order of how to teach and preach, and I appreciate you. Some announcements. Camp funding. If you're going to go to camp, especially adults, going to be counselors. We need to get your funds in. It's $150 for adult counselors. We need to turn that into offering, just mark it as such. I have mine right here. We'll turn it in. Plus, I've got a little extra for in case the youth needs it. So if you're going to be an adult and you're going to set foot on the campground one day, spend one night, and eat one meal, turn in your money so we can cover all the grocery bills. Also, our pastor search committee continues, and it's going well. The Lord's bringing to the surface some applicants that look pretty promising. Also, we will have a business meeting next Sunday right after the service. It's our call business meeting for our annual budget review. And also for prayer, for camp again. At prayer, I've got those little hospital bracelets. Angie did that one time. I thought it was a great idea. I've got 2 stapled together for each person, so it had 2 different names. If you would grab them on the way out, And use them, wear them or keep them with you. So be praying for the counselors and the youth during youth camp. That is critical for the Lord's working. So please take some on the way out and so we can know that you're praying for us. Okay, if we'll do our offering first or what? No? Oh, we're going to have dessert first. So.
Hey guys, okay, so we had VBS this week, Monday through Thursday. We had a ton of really awesome counselors and people manning different stations and following our kids from place to place and making snacks for them and letting them do crazy experiments and teaching them all about God. It was really great. But we had a missions type of a fundraiser all week long, and I had 4 buckets set up. The mission was for water wells to be built in Peru. So the kids knew that all the money they were bringing in was going to help dig these wells in Peru and help these kids just like them drink fresh water. So I had 4 Ozarka bottles put up, and I had 4 very wonderful men say yes, that they would be willing to be a winner or loser in this challenge. So, and the winner gets an amazing prize. All 4 are going to come. The kids are just wrapping up. I think coming down the hall. They're coming down here because they all want to see this. But our 4 guys are going to come sit in these chairs right here because our winner gets to have a big bite of pie via smashing their face. So they're coming down. I think that's them. Slowly but surely, our kids are going to come sit in the front. We thought we would just do it back there, but then I thought, why? We are a very giving church. We want to share. So we want to share our joy, our fun. We want to share our good news. So why not share their humiliation? So they're coming in. They're going to all come up. I know some of our guys are in the crowd. Bob, I know you're probably hiding somewhere. Bruce. So if all my guys can come up, just line them up right there. Yep, all the kids, but you got to help me the kids. So, and all of our guys are going to line up right here, and then we're going to announce our winner. Just give them a second, guys. Operation Kid to Kid, I believe it's something similar to Samaritan's Purse. Anyway, that's going to go to Bill Wells. But our grand prize winner was Bob. Since all the other guys look a little bit sad because they were losers, we'll go ahead and let them have a prize too.
Just y'all are men of your word. It could be worse. So, that being said, I'm going to pray for the offering, and then we're going to stand and worship. So, let's pray together. Father God, we just come before you and thank you for just what a great week meeting yesterday. Thank you for all the volunteers we had, and the men that followed through and graciously made time for the church. I pray that you be with this offering. Bless the money that is given to the church. Give the trustees wisdom and allow them to use the funds for your kingdom, Father. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Y'all can stand as we sing.